and gentlemen. Today I have a bit of an unusual, personal video idea. First I need to tell you about my mom. For most of my life, my mom has been making and selling jewelry and floral arrangements and just about anything she could manage to sell. Lately, she's been finding a lot of vintage jewelry and selling it online, and it's how my mom, survives. So, she finds a lot of stuff that makes her think of me, and some stuff might have belonged to my grandmother, my great-grandmother. It could be other antiques she's found. It could be things that she thought I would laugh at, and she likes to send me jewelry. And when I say she likes to send me jewelry, I am not kidding. She likes to send me jewelry. I am trying to wear more of it, but I don't currently have a jewelry tree or anything to have this out on display, hence why I'm keeping it in little bags so chains and things don't get tangled up. And then I put it in a bag and I put it on a shelf, and in groups I kind of forget some of this stuff exists because I can't have it all out all the time. Today I thought it would be really fun to look at some of this jewelry, pick maybe a few particular pieces at random, and design some characters based on jewelry. I have a lot of jewelry to pick from, so let's look at this. We have things that are like nice vintage antique. I have like official Vatican jewelry that my grandmother purchased. She was a very big fan of the Home Shopping Network. Vintage finds with the actual brand names on them. And of course, Rhinestone Sailor Pikachu, and multiple magnifying glass jewelry, which I kind of love and my students love, but it's fun. And of course, because I'm a teacher, the obligatory school bus pin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look away from this pile, and I'm going to choose a few choice items, and I am going to design some characters, or a character, based on the piece of jewelry I pull out. So, without further ado, I'm going to... Some of these are going to be so easy to tell what they are, I mean, come on. Okay, and my eyes are closed. You have to trust me on this because I only have one camera. And the first thing I'm going to pick... This plastic touched my hand. I'm still not opening my eyes. Whatever this is, I'll open my eyes in a second. I'm gonna find a chain. And then whatever's on the end of that chain. Okay, I've got chain. Something else is caught on it. Oh no, I had to open my eyes. Well, 'tis the season, I guess. And one last thing. Okay. So, we have a dancing rhinestone Santa Claus. We have some earrings here. Oops. They're kind of, oh, they're little hands holding hearts. I know this symbol has significance, but I don't remember what it is right now. And I have, ooh, it's new vintage. That's a really cool chain. It looks like bones. And like a moonstone looking sparkly madness sort of thing. Really, really cool chain. I should probably, I feel like I should put these in 3 different characters, but we'll see. Let's get designing. So before I get too much into exactly what I'm drawing, I do want to talk a little bit more about the specific pieces. I actually happen to work with a couple Irish people at my international school in Sweden, and I was able to ask one of them about the hands holding the heart. My preliminary searches on the internet said that it was Irish descent. It's called the Claddagh. I forgot how she said it. Claddagh, I think. And basically it's a symbol for friendship and relationships. And it's not usually earrings, it's usually a ring. And depending on how you wear it, it kind of denotes a relationship status. If you wear it with the heart pointing towards you, it means you are taken and you are not single and you are in love. But if you wear it with the heart pointy end pointing out, it means you are welcoming new love and searching for love, I think. Something along those lines. Comes from the... it's like a fishing village in, I think she said Galway. That's called Claddagh, something like that. And it's like one of the biggest souvenirs people get from Ireland. The jewelry that came in a bag with the opal on it that was labeled new vintage actually isn't like, the new doesn't have to do with a brand name or anything. It was just how my mom labeled the jewelry. It was newer than the new vintage, so it was her new vintage. So I feel a little silly for that. Let's talk about the actual designing here. So I had Irish friendship bracelet rings. I had a gaudy Santa Claus, and I had a pretty vintage necklace. And I thought long about, making sure. I wanted a redheaded character. I'm going to be honest. My coworker who is from Ireland has the most fabulous short, bright orange red hair, and we often talk about what it's like to have curly hair because no one in Sweden has curly hair, and I love her hair. It's adorable. So I wanted to have redheaded character, and with Irish there was I was thinking about fae and fairies and stuff like that. Then thinking about the Santa Claus, I knew I was going to do kind of a winter character. I wanted a puffy collar neckline, and then I was thinking about Krampus. A good friend of mine who's an artist does Krampus Christmas cards every year, and she's been doing them for quite a few years. So I am familiar with the Christmas goat demony dude, and since I didn't want to do, a Santa Claus character, an elf, and I was thinking fae, and then I thought Krampus, who's basically evil-ish, but not evil goat man who kidnaps children for Santa Claus. Anyway, I wound up on the idea of a satyr. I was also thinking about the bone-like chain on the opal necklace, and I thought about bones and stuff like that. I wound up not following that train of thought, but it was one there. So sketching this character, I had a lot of fun. I did a couple practice sketches, which you'll see kind of at the end. I love her face. I think it's adorable. Sheepy. I could have drawn her arms, and thank you for including yourself. I could have drawn her arms and hands better, and as you're seeing now, I had a buttload of trouble with her legs. Originally, I was going to have her kind of prancing, but then her legs went off the page, so I couldn't really get the angle. And then I thought about having her sit like side saddle, but then what are hips? And it wouldn't have gone very well with her vertical way of sitting, because you can't just rotate your hips like that without breaking them off. So I paused and I took a long thought, and I realized that the side saddle legs look kind of like bent goat legs. So I decided to turn her from a satyr into a goat centaur. It also allowed me a little more freedom on what and where her waist was. I decided to hang the opal like some giant talisman thing from her hips, or like a belt. So since her hips would grow into, big goat shoulders, it made more sense that it was hanging. I lost the footage of inking her for the most part, which makes me sad because watching the inking is like one of my favorite parts. So I apologize in advance. There's no inking. I went in and did some more contrast for the background. I had gotten used to doing all black backgrounds with the ink from my Inktober project, and I know this sketchbook could handle it because of the Inktober project. So I went ahead and painted in blacks for the background, so that way the snow would nice and pop off. I just kind of had this mental story of this goat girl waiting in the freezing cold for somebody, waiting for someone to show up, and it started snowing, and she looks up and is just kind of taken by the pretty snow. There's a little bit of concern on her face, but also, ooh, what? It's snowing. So I have been experimenting, obviously, with a lot of different materials in the sketchbook, and I had thought about doing this in gouache, but I have to be really careful with how much water I use in gouache, and this paper does do markers pretty well. I have to make sure that I have a bleed sheet in, or else it will bleed through a couple layers of pages, which I guess means it's not great for markers. But it looks pretty good when I'm done. I wanted to have like a nice warm leathery color for the coat. I started fading in some grays for the fluff. I haven't used markers too terribly much in the last couple years. The most I've actually used them is since I started using them in this sketchbook. I've mostly been using watercolors as my medium of choice. After the grays, I had fun putting in the golds and the different colors for the opal. I had to be kind of careful how I did it because I wanted to make sure you still had the sparkly pink bits, and it's very easy to overdo one color. I did all of the little soft fleshy tones. I have learned through experience not to ever leave your eyes perfectly white. They don't look sickly pink until they don't look sickly pink after you've colored in things around them. But you add a lot more depth to eyes that just aren't left white. Putting in the bright orange hair that I was excited about. Blending and, trying to give it some different tones. Redhead. Fun. Then I started blending into the face. I originally was going to keep her face flesh toned, but then I was looking at pictures of goats and largely to get the pose for the lower half of her body, and I think goats are adorable. And I love the ones that have the different browns on their faces. And then weird spots that don't follow normal
animal geometry. I mean, generally if an animal has spots, it's just on the belly, but goats like straight up have like cow-like spots of white sometimes on their bodies, which is fun. So her spot doesn't stick just to like her belly. I went back through and relined some parts, making it darker, and then went through with my gel pen. I probably went overboard with parts with the gel pen. I think in the end, whenever I go back over the illustration, putting it in snowflakes, it kind of takes away the harshness of some of the white spots. Like I said, I haven't really worked in marker very much in a long time, and I've learned more about blending since I really use them, and I've always relied kind of heavily on the white gel pen. So I think it's one of those more experienced type of things I need to figure out to make look good like. Grammar. I think this character is adorable. I love her colors. I wish I had managed to sneak in a little more cool tones and greens, because, you know, you'll have the greens and the oranges are the colors I think of for Ireland. I did color over her eyes with a gel pen and go back in with some greens to give them her eyes some color, which actually came out really, really nice, as long as you don't look super close. Really like this illustration. Really happy with how it came out. I already turned it into a coloring sheet for my patrons on Patreon, and I'm going back and forth on the idea of putting it on Redbubble, because Redbubble is cool. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this illustration. I hope you liked this idea. I have plenty of other jewelry if I want to do this again, and I hope to do some more character art coming up, because I really enjoyed this. It was fun. She's cute, and I'm having fun filling out the sketchbook. Until then, tell me what you think. Did I use the jewelry well? How would you have used these? Do you have giant piles of unused jewelry? And I will see you guys next week. Bye!